Your character seemingly died in the first film. Were you surprised when you got the call to come back?
Oh, for sure, I was surprised and delighted at the same time. But it made sense that the wizard would return, given the fact that he's bestowed this power onto a teenager who mishandled it and shared his power with other, siblings that were also teenagers. Yeah, so it makes sense.
I heard that you, David, allowed a lot of improvisation on the set of this film.
Yeah, it's not so much allowing that's that you can't contain like people like Zachary Levi, Jack Dylan Grazer. It's like they're going to do what they're going to do, but that's why you cast them, because they are their characters pretty much.
Very free.
Yeah, and I mean that's how you get some really good stuff. That because they cracked me up.
Do you have a favorite line that ended up in the movie that was improvised?
One of my favorites is when Freddy's in like the prison dungeon. And he's like sitting on the floor, he's all frustrated, and he's like, what is this, a tooth? There's a tooth in here. Like that was just part of the production design. They put little bones and teeth in there, and he was just like reacting to the environment.
That is true. Actually, when I saw that, I was like, I've never saw this moment in a script.
Yeah, no, that's
moment.
All him. Yeah.
Oh, wow, yeah. Well.
Yeah, because honestly, my favorite part of this film is your chemistry with Jack Dylan. All those scenes I thought so funny. How did that collaboration work? Because I also heard that he tried to make you laugh doing takes.
He really didn't have to try. I mean, I'm trying to contain him to hate his part, his, hate your mark. And this boy is like uncontrollable at times, But again, thanks to the writer and, much of it was already on page. And of course, thanks to the free spirited of Jack to venture. And, sometime David had to bring him back and said, please come and stay with the story. So yeah, it's quite, it was quite a challenge, but at the same time, quite fun.
And what does it take to get Dame Helen Mirren to be in a superhero movie?
Well, apparently you just have to ask. No, she said she really liked the first one. So I guess that's the great thing about a sequel, where you can show the first movie to people. But I didn't expect her to say yes. I thought that was sort of the top of the list, the goal. So it was like, yeah, let's ask her, and then we get a no, and then we can go down the list until finally someone will say yes. Mm-hmm. But she said yes right away, which is like the biggest honor ever.
So cool.
Yeah.
And she revealed that she broke a finger doing set, so obviously she did some of her own stunts.
She did a lot of her own stunts.
How was it like watching Helen Mirren, like in action?
No, it was great. I mean, I did not expect her to do that. So we wanted to make sure to really show on camera that it is her, which is like there's a moment when Shazam picks her up and holds her over his head. So we made sure to put a camera on top looking down so people can see that, no, it's actually her doing it, and her like slamming it into walls. And she didn't even tell anyone that she had broken her finger. She just kept going, and then I found out about it afterwards.
That's badass.
Yeah.
That's badass. Indeed.
Especially like the secret library really gave me like Harry Potter vibes. And there's also a reference to Hagrid when Freddy talks about your character. Did you draw any inspiration from the Harry Potter universe?
Yeah, I mean, you take inspiration from all over. I mean, the funny thing with the library, it turned into more Harry Potter in post-production, because when we're cutting it together, the camera comes around all these books, but there's so many books that I was like, are people even going to see that they are books? So that's in post-production. I added the fact that the books could fly. That's why they come out and fly around. I thought that was quite a genie. Yeah, because that's like, okay, then people will see that they are books.
Yeah,
and that made it very Harry Potter-esque.
That's great.
But I love Harry Potter, so I love that.
Great, that's how we get you.
I also noticed some horror Easter eggs in the film. Can you tell me how many there are, and why was it important to put some horror?
I just love horror. That's why it was so fun playing around with the monsters. Mm-hmm. I in particular, like my horror comfort food is like Italian horror movies from like the 70s and 80s. So there's some reference in there, like some names written out, like Lucio Fulci and like Ruggero Deodato is in a reference in there, and like Mario Bava, Dario Argento. Yeah. So for some of them are pretty, at least one of them is pretty hard to find, but it's in there.
So go look when you see the film.
Yeah, see it several times until you find them all.
Because the film is both like really funny, but also really dark. How do you balance those tones, both in terms of like directing and acting?
You're gonna have to ask David for that question. Is for you, because I really don't know how they were able to really, and without overdoing it, and for it to still be realistic.
Yeah, I mean, it is a bit of a trial and error in post-production, where you go like, oh, maybe it's a little too silly now. Maybe we tone down or take out some of the jokes, especially towards the latter half of the film, where it felt like, oh, the danger is so big now and the threats are so real that we maybe not do it as jokey.
Yeah, right.
You know?
And you have a short cameo in the film.
Yeah.
I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
Well, I usually do something like put my voice in there or something. Never had my face on camera before, but it was actually the crew on the film who were like, "Hey, you should be that guy."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Well, I don't want to take the stunt guy's job, you know. Like, he has a family to feed." But he had other things to do in the movie, so no, that was really fun to get to do my own stunt.
And you can imagine my shock, my face. I mean, looking at it, I was like, oh, that's David.
Yeah, he didn't know it was coming.
You didn't know?
No, I didn't know.
But it also makes me appreciate you guys' work so much more when you get to try those things, like being in that harness with the wires and things, and like you get bruised. And,
yes.
Yeah, you got bruised on this movie too. Yeah.
Many times.
And in this film, there's this running joke about Shazam trying to find his superhero name. Have you ever thought about what your personal superhero names would be?
Well, online I'm Pony Smasher.
That's a nice one.
Yeah, it sounds like a bad guy. Though.
But
like,
the Pony Smasher, I mean, it's an interesting one. I just say interesting because some people might look at it as, almost like evil. I mean,
it does sound kind of evil. Yeah. Yes.
And ponies are supposed to be adored by,
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, and here comes Pony Smasher.